Okay, well, welcome to the episode 7 of the still remaining unnamed podcast. I have a friend of mine here who I've referenced twice in my first 6 episodes. That might be considered a man crush, Eric.
Man, I
when I
hope so.
reference
I hope
when I
so.
reference you twice within the first 6 episodes of a show. Yeah, no, I reached out to Eric just a couple days ago, asked, hey, you should come on. Just I was watching his story on Instagram, and a lot of you, I'm sure, know who this man is because you probably follow me on Instagram and you probably follow him on Instagram. And he speaks a lot of truth. We don't agree on everything. We know that, but the reality is, I think what we agree on is that we are on the same page in what's going on in the world, and we're actually doing the things. And I remember I met Eric last summer at the end of July. I was in Ontario, and we were total strangers, and we just got chatting online. And he said, "Why don't you come over?" And me and my wife and my daughter went over to his house with his wife and his 2 kids, and had a little barbecue and chatted and got to know each other, and the rest is history. And so yeah, I wanted him to come on, and we actually literally do not have an agenda here today. We're just going to open it up. We don't have an agenda, unlike the World Economic Forum has an agenda. Yeah. Too soon?
Nah, no, I don't think so, man. I don't think so. But all in all, I think that's what creates these great bonds with people is not having the ability to kind of put away your disagreements and your differences and still agree on common ground. It's like I swore that's what politics was initially. You know what I mean? To like, you guys agree on a bunch of common goals and a bunch of common principles, and then you guys kind of nitpick the details, right? Like
Right.
that's initially what it was. So it's just good to see other people out there, man, who can, be a man about it and just I don't know, we clicked pretty well, right away. It was a good thing. So I'm super grateful to be on here, man.
Yeah, I think we mostly clicked a lot on the preparedness side of things and just like
Right.
doing things to be independent from the system. And I know that you're an entrepreneur. I am as well. And just before we actually came on here, before we hit the record button, we were talking about how Eric was talking about like he's did nothing against working a job, which I talked about that in my last 2 episodes. That's where it starts. But it's exactly the fact that because he plays by different rules, he's got a business on the side outside of a job. You know how little taxes he pays, right? And that's what you're talking about, because like it's just different rules. And so, I mean, we relate in a lot of ways, not just entrepreneurship, but also being prepared, doing the things, just being able to be independent. If the system goes completely uh, into fuckland. But anyway, it's yeah. So I think we connect on a lot of areas, right? So we'll probably talk a little bit about preparedness, but I think the number one subject that got me reached out to him was like I reached out to him because his story he was talking about a lot of the stuff still going on in this movement. And I know that I've talked to other people recently. I know Kristen Nagel, her and I had a conversation on the phone about someone we both know. That's the second time I've referenced her on this podcast too. So maybe there's a man crush with Eric, there's a crush Kristen Nagel. I just like some people that stand for some shit, I guess. But it's we were talking about this, Eric and I, about how like there's a lot of people that are still presenting the problems. They wanna like stand up on their soapbox, literally, and see and keep posting all this stuff about, hey, look how bad the world is, look how drama filled it is. Hey, can you please follow me? Hey, can you please like me? Hey, can you please comment? Can you please tag your friends? Can you do all that nonsense where they're really kind of like chasing, you know, who knows what, the warm and fuzzies from social media instead of actually doing shit. And I know that's a subject you're passionate about. So, I mean, thoughts?
Yeah, no, man, I agree, and I think at this point, man, I've reached my wits end. Like, it's been a couple of years, and I'm all for fighting the good fight, man. Like, that's what I believe, dude. Like, to my fucking core, I believe that if there is something that you are obsessed with that you think is right, then you fight for that shit. You get obsessed with it. You don't stop. I don't care how uncomfortable it is. The more uncomfortable it is, the less you want to do it, is the more you should. So nobody can ever say that this is born from a place of jealousy or anything. No, what it's born from is being tired of seeing people only present the shit that doesn't matter. I don't care about Justin Bieber's face. I don't care about, Justin Trudeau and his bullshit. I don't care that Tim Biebs are back, man. I don't give a shit. Because at the end of the day, how much of this, dude, and I'm going to ask you this honestly, how much of this has been presented in the way that we are going to, take your kids away if you're not, and people are just using that right? The moment that you even read an article that says that, they push this on social media and they try to get this, they play on your fear factor and your innate ability to be attracted to the chaos. And whether people like to believe it or not, man, we're still in this place where people love fear porn.
Mm-hmm.
They want it to end, but subconsciously they don't ever want this to end.
Yep. And we were
So
talking about that a year ago, that people were going to continue to do
yeah,
this because they
man.
wanted to stay relevant.
Exactly. And then the moment you say something like, oh, this individual wants to stay relevant, it's kind of like, oh, like you're hating. I'm like, no, I'm giving you the truth, right? The truth is, what have you learned, right? What has this person given you? What value have you gotten from this page? I mean, you spend, 90% of your fucking time on these pages, commenting, scrolling, telling them how good of a job they're doing. What job are you doing? What have you done for you? What have they provided for you and your family? Have you learned anything? Have you taken anything away from the page? Or are you doing what everybody does and you're just addicted to a 15 seconds of bullshit, which is 15 seconds you'll never get back? Add up all the 15 seconds in your day that you waste on Instagram, commenting on bullshit that doesn't matter. Add that up to the end of the week. If it adds up to half an hour, use that half an hour to, I don't know, figure something out for your life or learn how to live it. Like we're in this weird place now, right? Like freedom is not something you attend on a weekend. Like,
Yeah.
when are we going to understand that? It's not something that you can attend on a weekend. And when I said that, the backlash that I got was insane
Dude, I
because,
quoted it and put it on my story when you said that because I love that shit.
man, it just, I'm a little lost with people, man. Like, I genuinely don't understand what it is with wanting to see other people speak about fixing your problems and your problems still remain. It's like a drug at this point, man. Like you hop on Instagram to get, your feelies all, feeling good for 15 seconds. And you know what kills me? I'm going to address this right now. You have all of these people, right? Who are like, one of my favorite lines, my favorite line to hate is, I would do anything for my kids. I
Yeah.
would do anything. And I'm like, well, the problem is you haven't done anything for your kids. You sit here on Instagram and you speak to a camera for the likes and views. And half these people are like, oh, if they ever come to my door. And then I look on the screen and I'm like, you couldn't do a fucking thing. Like they knock on your door and you're basically collecting shit for the toughest guy on the block. Like you're nobody, right? Like they don't train, they don't have any sort of a mindset to help them. They do it for this instant gratification that they find online, man. And we need to, I think right now it's up to guys like you and myself to give people that real, raw perspective that the only way out of this is you. There is no substitute. There is
Yep.
nobody that's going to come and save you. There is no one. I don't care who you believe in. I don't care what you believe in. I don't care who you think is coming to save you. Nothing is going to happen unless you do it.
Yeah, and I mean anyone listening to this, none of that what you just said and what I'm going to say is new, right? If they've followed us, like if they follow us on Instagram, this is all just a repeat. This is like going to be a recap to them. But exactly what you say about I do anything for my kids, and I've said this before too. There's probably multiple videos on my Instagram. You can find this where I say, okay, people always say I die for my kids. That's easy. It's easy to die for your kids because guess what?
Sure.
Boom, you die, it's over, right? But
Mhm.
will you every day live for them? Will you wake
Right.
up every single day and do the hard shit it takes to
Hmm.
provide for them and give them a better life? And the reality is, no, you won't. What I don't think people understand is they've created. I think one of the big reasons why social media is created, it's like this false tool. It's given everybody a platform,
Right.
so that like the world elites did this. So they're like, okay, well, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, if we tried to do this, people would take to the streets. Well, now they've created, well, let's just create a digital platform where everyone can just go on there, run their mouths, feel like they're doing something,
Hmm.
and they'll all like create a little online community on there, and they'll pat each other on the back and give each other warm and fuzzies, and
Yeah.
nothing will actually happen. And I think like that's what people need to realize. It's great that you're speaking out on social media. I mean, you do it, Eric. I've done it. That's essentially where I have this following, which led to this. There's certain, yes, we're not devaluing it entirely, but there's a point where it needs to be applied, right? Like just like the same saying, knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power, right? If you don't
Hmm.
apply knowledge is
Correct.
useless. You can gather it all you want, like you said, gather physical things for the toughest guy on the block. You can gather all the knowledge in the world. If you don't apply it, you're being slothful. You're wasting, and to me it's absolutely wild how people have gotten so caught up in this, the amount of, yeah, like the Bieber stuff. Who gives a shit? I said this to my wife. I'm like, if I see one more video about this idiot's face, like I'm gonna lose my mind. I don't know why anyone cares about this at this point. You know, if I see one more Justin Trudeau video, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like I just don't care. Like, why are people like Rebel Moot News and all these places giving this guy a platform? Like, can we move past this? Like, I just don't understand why people just can't wait. Did you hear what that idiot said today? Who gives a shit what he said?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and that's what it's turned into, right? It's turned into like who can be, instead of actually making a move, it's turned into just this: who can be more outraged about the current thing.
Yeah.
That's what it's turned into. It's like who can make the most popular video about the same fucking thing in order to say that I'm more outraged, or say it in a way that's better than the other people. Because let me let everybody know, none of you are original. You all just regurgitate the same shit. That's all it is. It's literally you're swiping through Instagram and you're seeing the same, 20 people talking about the exact same thing.
Yep.
And what does anybody learn from it, man? If you have this platform, and look, you do whatever you want with your platform. That's fine. No one's telling you what to do with it. But what I am saying is I thought that this was about creating, better lives for people away from the system. I thought this was entirely about being independent of the system. Why are we playing into it? Like, do people not
Mm-hmm.
understand that the more clicks you give National Post, the more clicks you give CP24, the more clicks you give all of these things, and every time you share it, that adds to their numbers, man. It makes
Yep.
them more valuable in the eye of the algorithm. Everything is an algorithm, So I've become a little bitter on this side of the fence, because I feel like people just need to fucking hear it, man. Like, I have no problem with my following not growing, dude. It's been stagnant for largely banning, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's because people come on there and they'll follow you up until they're offended,
Yep.
right? And then it's like, well, like I get that you're offended, but maybe instead of being offended, you should probably question why. Like, what is it
That's
that I
right.
said that really bothered you and trigger something inside of you? And secondly, if what somebody is saying on their own page that you could just swipe past is triggering you, you have bigger fucking problems, dude. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that something online is triggering a response in you that makes you need to get that out of your head is, I'm astonished. Like, the pussification of society. I thought after this we would see this group that we saw at these rallies, and they would be like these, gung ho, hard as fuck. And then you start looking around and you're like, dude, these rallies are they're a photo op.
100% they are.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
while I think people should be getting out there, is like, but at what point, right? At what point is it that you're just getting out there just to kind of yell? Like, what is really being achieved? Because when you go home that day, what did you come home and put that, because they say, oh, we go to these things to uplift our energy. Well, okay, well, then what did you do with that energy? What did you apply that to in your life to make a change in the direction of what the rally was for?
Or did you just use it to make yourself feel good?
Bingo. And
That's
that's
right.
what it is. A quick dopamine dump. Because
That's
that's
right.
what it is. That's exactly what it is. We are so addicted to this dopamine rush. And you want me to prove it? Anybody who listens to this, put your phone down for half an hour. Don't look at it. Don't think about it. Just go live your life. Put your phone down for half an hour. Walk the fuck away from it. And watch how you feel. You're in a panic. You don't know what to do. You need to know. You need to know who's messaged you. You need to know what. Break that cycle for, an hour or so a day, and you will realize the game that has been played. You're
Mm-hmm.
still playing into it by constantly scrolling Instagram all day. You're still playing the game, man. Your page is one of the few that I see you doing what I'm doing, like doing dumb shit in the backyard and just swinging axes and shooting bows and, spending time with your kids and driving around doing shit. And you know what I mean? Like, your life and your family's well-being takes a priority long before your presence on Instagram, and that's what I want to see more of, man.
Yeah, and there's honestly there's a lot of stuff because I am a super private person. there's only a handful of people out there that even have my phone number through this, that I've met people through it. I don't like, there's a lot of stuff I do every single day. I won't put videos up of me doing things because I know there's crazy people out there and I'm paranoid. And so I don't
Hmm.
want to make myself a target, but I want to talk on something you touched about. And then I want to move into something even that's really going to ruffle some feathers. But you were talking about something that, where you're saying about people, it doesn't matter. I don't remember what remembered it, but reminded me. But Andy Frisella was talking. I was listening to one of. I listened to
Mm.
3 episodes of his today, and I was listening to something, and he says the people that agree, like if you have a foundational agreement, which you and I do. Again, like I talked about, we don't always agree on everything. That's fine. But you got to stop fighting with each other. It's the same thing where that's what you're talking about. People banning, blocking you because you say something that offends them. But at the end of the day, I say shit all the time that offends you because I've been pretty stagnant now for about 3 months too. I haven't moved. And it's because like I'll say something and it'll rub you the wrong way. But who gives a shit? Do we stand for the same principle? Are we in the same fight? Then if the answer is yes, then okay, right? You need to unify. And Andy Frisell was talking about we need to stop the fighting between the people that are doing the same thing. And that's like so much of the problem right now. And then you went into kind of and you could touch on that if you want, but you went into like the photo op stuff. Right before we got on here, I was watching something and I saw some woman there's some protest going on, of course, because it's Saturday and Saturdays are for protesting because, freedom on the weekend and whatnot. And she was there and she had a jerry can, man. And she was like symboling the Ottawa thing. And it's like, there are still people all over this country reliving the Ottawa thing every single day. And when me and Kristen were talking on the phone a couple weeks ago, I was like, that's like that dude from high school who, you see 20 years later and he's still talking about that touchdown pass he threw. It's like, who the fuck cares? It's like, was it an incredible moment? Yes. Is it historical? Yes. But are you still living off the past? Have you literally done nothing significant in your life before that or nothing significant since then that is the only thing you can talk about? What is happening?
You know, something that you said there with regards to, people standing for something. I think that's where everything kind of, originates. And instead of asking people what they stand for, I'm at the point where I just ask them, "Oh, do you stand?"
That's right.
Right?
You just
Honestly
fall down
though,
on your little wet noodle
honestly,
legs.
right? Because you can say, "Look, we're in this time where everybody loves to talk. They love to talk. Everybody seems to think that they can, just run their mouth and that holds value, but it doesn't. I want to see your actions back that up." So when you say that, like a jerry can, dude, like we're fucking still there. And it was like when the bikers came, right? There became this moment, and I took a shitload. I took a beating for this, and I just sit back and laugh. Like it's one of those things where I knew. I was like, well, here goes 1,000 followers quick, right? Because I was just like, yeah, fuck the Rolling Thunder. And people are like, oh, but it's the bikers. I'm like, these aren't the hardcore bikers. These are the fucking, ride for prostate cancer bikers. Like, these aren't the fucking guys, man. These aren't who you think they are. But somehow, every time somebody comes to solve your problems, all right, you put all of this into it, like Ottawa. How many convoys are we going to do? How many times are we going to relive that moment? It's like you say, yeah, you threw that touchdown. It was great. It was, a great moment of the past. Now move past it, past tense. You know what I mean? Like it's not here anymore, man. It's a memory, it's a thought. But in regards to what Andy had said, I think that what we were talking about pre this was really really important, and it just goes to show you how we've depicted that the left hates the right and the right hates the left. Bro, we're all the fucking same, man.
Yep.
Like when we sit back and look at the ecosystems and how all we do is bitch at each other and nobody looks up. Nobody sees who's pulling the fucking strings, man, because we're too busy down here bitching
100%.
and complaining about what each other are doing, and nobody looks up to see who's caused the issue, dude. We need to stop fighting over breadcrumbs. It's not going to get us anywhere. Because think about what we look like to the people at the top, right? They just rattle the cage and we fucking go at it. And it's like, and then there's people like you and me who kind of sit back and we're like, dude, what the fuck is going on here? The only issue that I've really taken up lately is the gun issue.
Yeah,
Because like fuck you, man.
that's right.
Like I'll put 10,000 guns on the table right now. Do you know how many will kill a man? Zero. It's an operator issue, man. Like
Mhm.
you know, if why don't we worry about the people that are holding these things instead of constantly worrying about, the item itself. It just doesn't, you know.
Because we got to promote, dude. We got to promote mental health issues. That's important. We celebrate it. You have mental
Dude.
health. We've been celebrating for decades, so of course we got to blame the item. Because why would we want to fix the problem? We've been celebrating for decades
Man.
so that we could create the problem. Then we can actually just blame an inanimate object and say, "Hey, it's not the fault. It's not anyone's fault that we actually taught these people to be perverts and sexual predators and all kinds of things. It's actually the gun." Okay,
You're bang
motherfucker.
on, man. You're bang on, dude. So bang on.
You know what's funny? I was thinking when you talked about the bikers, I'll tell you what, and I bet you anyone listening to this is probably like, "Yeah, fuck these guys," what are you doing? And, you probably struck a few chords. I think it's hilarious. And it's like, well, at least they went. What are you doing? Okay, so like, I got a question for people when they define what are you doing. And if you want to know what like some of us have done, well, go back and look at our Instagrams. We're not going to sit here and
Yep.
celebrate our past accolades like you guys like to do. We've done some shit, got involved, had some things happen to us, and then there comes a point to move on. And if you don't think that if you in your brain think that motorcyclists or other, I don't know what other kind of groups are all going to Ottawa. I think there's like 19. There's a lineup. You get to pick. You get a ticket, and then that weekend is yours. You get to do a convoy to Ottawa, and you're going to change everything in the world. I think that's what's going on. I think the
Yeah.
mimes or memes or mimes or I don't know what the fuck they are anymore that do this. The mimes. I think they're all heading there next weekend. Maybe I don't know. God knows. But my point
Man.
is that is that if you think people going there and doing this is more important and has more impact than people like us trying to inspire people
Yeah,
to get
man.
control of their life, take preparation into their own hands, create their own food, become an entrepreneur, control their own source of food and money, control how their children are raised, control how they value marriage so their children see that. If you think someone showing up to Ottawa does more work than us doing that, then you, my friend, are a bigger part of the problem than the people you hate. You just don't fucking understand how to fix the problem. You
Yep.
think it's that shit when really it's this shit.
Yeah, 100%, man. I couldn't have fucking said that any better. And at the end of the day, I'm just gonna end that entire Ottawa thing with you guys went from honk honk to vroom vroom and it did nothing. Okay. End of the day, that's all you did. You guys went from honk honk to just motors and it did nothing. A bunch of revving. All they did was brought a bigger police force to make sure you couldn't do shit. So at the end of the day, man, what you're saying, I want to go touch on that mental health thing for a quick minute, but not in the way that people think. So people think that I'm going to get into like, oh my God, we need to really worry about mental health. We need to really, take care of these people who are mentally ill. While I agree, the fact is, and still remains, and has always been, and I've been calling this for almost a decade now. They are going to glorify a state of being in which being miserable is popular. You just go back to every one of your famous little fucking rappers, and everybody out there is all promoting Xanax and how depressed they are and how anxious they are. Well, you think that doesn't trickle down? You think that constantly listening is scrolling through the fucking radio stations, hearing about, how this, your favorite rapper, but he's so cool, but he's depressed and he gets by. Wait, well, I can be depressed too. It's not like in the 70s, we were glorifying fucking Conan the Barbarian and wanted to be the most manly motherfucker out there. Now we're glorifying being depressed, being nauseous, being on prescription medication. Like they have made this an issue. This has not been an issue. They created it. A lot like everything else, the whole trans issue, the spike that you're seeing everywhere, right? You can call it whatever you want, but at the end of the day, these things were promoted by the media. The same system that has come across and fucked everyone today. And it really blows my mind that people don't see what they're doing to quote unquote our side as well. The media is just, dude, they use us as a vehicle to catapult misinformation, and then
Yep.
we look like fucking idiots, and then we can't find any common ground because we're arguing over misinformation
You see that all the time.
all the time, man. So like at what point do we start to say like, okay guys, I think it's really time to think of what these guys are saying and say, okay, well, I can do all this shit for Instagram, I can do all this, bro, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in what your Instagram shows, unless your Instagram is motivational. You want two Instagram accounts to go follow? David Goggins and Cameron Haynes. You know why? Because they don't tell you about all the excuses. They don't tell you about how your little, warm fuzzy bed is great for you at the end of the night. They don't talk about your rest. They don't talk about your breaks. They tell you to get the fuck up. They don't care how much you hurt, and they want you to get out there and get after it. And people would think that it's just about fitness. No, man. Everything in your life, get up, get after it. You failing as a parent, get up, get after it. You failing at your job, get up, get after it. Like, what else do you need to hear? We want all of these solutions, man. It is so simple. You know what it starts with? Wake up in the morning, put your fucking pants on one leg at a time, put one foot in front of the other, set a goal, and do it. That's it. It's like what you said about business. That's it. And it doesn't even need to be something that, like, stop with the whole, where people always say, oh, if you do what you love, then, you never work a day in your life. Bullshit. It's bullshit. I don't know who the fuck told you that working, work smart, not hard. That's not the truth, man. You work hard, period. And you get to where you need to get, and then you can work smart. But it's
That's
all
right.
going to start from hard work. You can't run from it, man. And the faster you accept that in your life, that maybe you should turn off Instagram, or if you're going to, reach it on social media, fill your head with things that empower you to
That's right.
be somebody better tomorrow than you were today.
But Eric, what you're saying makes too much sense, because that means the individual will have to work on themselves. And just like everyone we hate on the reason we're in this situation is because some person, whether it probably was a housewife and a mother who was a stay-at-home mom, needed everybody to get a participation ribbon. They needed everybody, and they didn't want to work on their own shit at home. Their marriage was falling apart. They were a shitty parent. So what did they do? They found issues in the community to attack, and they did that through the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s. Because if they had to stop and focus on themselves, they would be exposing. So they started attacking things that didn't matter, which is what the destruction of society has become. Now it's the same concept. Now all these people that claim to be smart and see the issues with the world, they don't want to look internally. They want to blame all the issues instead of saying, "Hey, I need to fix my life. I need to be a better parent. And that's why that's why exactly what I said about the auto. They believe that it's more important to go fly a flag and hold a sign and scream through a megaphone on the weekend or on a Wednesday. I don't care what day of the week it is. I don't give a shit if you do it 7 days a week. You think that's more important than investing in your kids. And maybe you're like, well, I'm a single person. I don't care. Maybe you have a niece or nephew. Maybe you have somebody. Why don't you be a big brother, big sister? Why don't you go invest in the next generation of children? Why don't you take that time and apply it in fixing the problem? Because you're not going to fix it in the weekend. You're not going to fix it this year. Like I said in an episode, it's a long game. We have to fix this over the next decades. We have decades to fix this problem.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to look internally, Eric. Nobody wants to say, hey, I suck. I suck every single day. There are areas that I dropped the ball. I'm looking around here right now. There's shit I got to do around my house. And I haven't done it. You know why? Because I'm a human too, just like you. I'm lazy. I try not to fall down in the areas that matter, though. I try not to, and I'm not a perfect father, and I'm not a perfect husband, and I fall down all the time in those areas. But I do my best to be aware of it. And what I don't do when I fall down is I don't go look for the hit of dopamine. I don't go sit in front of a video game. I don't go out drinking with the boys to make myself feel better about falling down. I pick myself up. I let my kid know I screw up. I say sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Or I shouldn't have ignored you. I shouldn't have done this. I tell my wife the same thing. And I grow as a man, and I be a big boy, and I be an example to the people that matter in the world. And I don't run away and hide behind my fucking problems with stupid addictions, the drugs and the alcohol and the video games and all that other shit. But society doesn't want to look at themselves. They want to blame, and fuck everybody, because that's what most of you are doing. I don't give a fuck what side you're on, because we're all in exactly what you said. We're all the same people. Fix your problems. Raise your fucking kids. It's not society's job. But it takes a village to raise a kid. Fuck you. It takes you to raise a kid.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Got me worked up.
No, but that's exactly what needs to be said, and that's why we're here. And one of the biggest pieces of advice that I could give anybody, and I hope this fucking resonates with anyone that listens: stop looking out the fucking window and look in the mirror.
Exactly.
What that means is, when you fuck up, when you do something that you feel was wrong, you have two things that you can do. You can either look out the window and point into the world and start saying that it's the problems of something out there. But at the end of the day, if it's a problem that had to do with you, you likely have control of it. So at least look in the mirror and try to find out what part of that you could have done better. If you start looking at yourself with everything that happens in your life, blame it on you, even if it's not all you. Even if, look, end of the day, man, I run a crew of a bunch of guys. I own my own business. When something happens, it doesn't matter who below me fucked it up.
It's
The
your fault.
client doesn't care, man. It's
Right.
me. I take that
Leadership.
shit, right?
Leadership.
I have to sit back because you know what? I'm not going to be a person that's like, oh, we'll be friends, we'll be a team as long as we're always, succeeding together. No, man, you got to fail together too.
Yep.
Like, we've lost this ability within ourselves to be able to do the simplest thing ever, man. And that's say that we were wrong. We're in the age of information. So everybody always has a fucking answer, man. There's times I listen to people speak and I know the answer damn well. I'm well read in it. And I sit back and I listen to them like, wow. Like, you would much rather stand here and make yourself look like an uneducated asshole instead of just say the words, hey, man, I don't know, but I'll go find out. Everybody has to know it all, man. Everybody's got
Yep.
the answers. Everybody knows. But then I look at your life and I'm like, man, if you know all of this about Justin Bieber's face and what causes the disease, but you don't know what the fuck you're going to do to feed yourself and your kids next month, I think your priorities may be a little fucked up. I think you may want to reevaluate your situation and stop looking out the window and saying, one of my favorite things, oh, inflation. Inflation. Okay, well, if the cost of living is going up, let me say something very unpopular. How about you do more? Do you think that making your same wage, do you think that bringing in the same amount of money as things are rising is going to cut it? Do you honestly think that that's going to happen? No, man, you're going to level the playing field. So when I say put your fucking pants on, put your big boy pants on, go out there, find a side hustle. Do more, man. Like, yeah, if you want to sit down every weekend and just watch fucking TV, well, you're going to have to sacrifice a little bit, man. It is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and coddle people all the time like, oh, what do I do? I don't have my own business. Then make one. Like, why is it so hard, man? I'm telling you, if you spend 1 week and instead of just looking at the job that you're doing right now, if you just look around you, if you work in a school and you're a teacher and you look around you and things are uncleanly, and you can say, oh, well, you know what? Looks like they might need a cleaning service. To create the cleaning service. Right? Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, entrepreneurship is a very simple thing, and there's a reason they try to get rid of it. Because entrepreneurs look at the fucking problems in society and we come up with solutions. And the government hates that. They cannot stand people who come out and say, I see this problem, I'm creating a solution. They can't stand it. And that's exactly why our value to people, our allure to people, when they listen to us, they're like, man, I gotta be like that. If you knew how fucking average of a man I am, how normal dude, I am nothing special, dude. I'm nothing special. I never have been. I never will be. But I know what the fuck I'm doing enough, and I have enough drive to go out there and go get it, man. So there's no excuse for anyone. I'm telling you, if I can do it, a little fucking kid who grew up with parents that struggled their entire fucking lives to raise us in this crazy fucking world, and I still do okay. Anyone can do it, man. Like, we need to stop making excuses. We need to start looking in that mirror and owning our shit.
Yeah, and I think everyone thinks anyone who succeeds is either special, smart, or gifted. And like, I love that you said that because I've said that on my episodes before. Anyone who knows me knows I talk about it. Like, I'm 36 credits shy of a high school diploma. I'm an idiot in society standards. Like, I technically have grade 9. I never came from any privilege, even though I'm white. I didn't get this white privilege card everyone keeps talking about. I'm still trying to figure out what that is. I'm sure someone would like to tell me, but and I love that you transitioned over to entrepreneurship and business ownership because let's say cost of living was now for a family $500 to $1,000 more a month. I mean, there's so many ways that you can make that money. That's not even a lot of money. And people are like, it's a lot of money to me. Well, it's a lot of money to me too, man. If someone showed me how to make an extra $1,000 a month, I'd do it. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not saying this to brag. I don't need $1,000 a month, but $1,000 a month is a lot of money. Like, I could do a lot of fun stuff with that,
Yep.
So like, I look at that, like, there's so many ways to do it. There's if you have a truck and trailer, you could start hauling stuff for people. You could do trips to the dump. You could, maybe someone needs to, move something from one city to another. That if you're in the GTA area, a lot of cities around there, you can make money doing that. I know gas prices are high, whatever. There's ways to make money. There's ways everywhere. And I hate that. I just don't have any ideas. And I've covered that in the last recent episodes, but you're going on the subject. I mean, you could probably right now think of, if you're left alone for 30 seconds, think of 3 to 5 things about ways to make money. Just boom, right off the top of your head, like something you've never said before, just like I could. It's literally not rocket science, but everybody's they're like, oh, but I'm not going to do that because, everyone would think I'm broke. If they saw me doing that, they'd think I'm broke. You are broke, bitch.
Yup.
Like you are. Everybody's broke now. Like, who the fuck cares? Like, everyone's walking around wearing $400 pairs of jeans with $300 shoes on, and they're taking the fucking bus. Are you kidding me right now? Your priorities are fucked up. Like, I don't understand how people give a shit what people think about them. And they're like, oh,
Man,
I don't want to look like I'm not getting by. Nobody's getting by anymore. Like, what the fuck?
you know what? I think that that's something that we should really kind of go in depth with, and that's what other people think.
Yeah.
And I haven't really heard anybody speak about it as of late, to be honest. And I think that people are just so kind of caught up in the goings on of the world, and it becomes something that's one reason why social media is so popular. So you can, it's like a struggle for approval, and we need to stop worrying about how other people perceive us, because especially if the last 2 years was to show you something, it should have been that those are with you. Those who aren't. Those who are meant to be in your life will be, and those who are not meant to will not be. And
Mm-hmm.
that just is what the fuck it is. But everybody is so, I need to wear the nicest shoes. I need to have bro, you've been to my house. Bro, I
Yeah.
fucking rent a house, dude. I have nothing special. You know what? Can I afford a fancy ass Traeger barbecue? Yeah. But my little $100 barbecue's been working for years.
Hold on. Are you taking shots at me because I got a fancy Traeger or what?
No, like, dude, what I'm saying is, sure, man, I could
I'm just
afford
kidding.
whatever I want to afford, and that's fine. And I'm not rich, not rich by any fucking stretch of the word, but I just don't see the appeal of wearing a $500 pair of jeans, man. Like, it just, what the fuck about? Let me tell you something. You can wear a $20,000 outfit, and you are going to find 3 of every 20,000 people who give a fuck what you're wearing, man. You know how self-absorbed you have to be to walk out of your house and say, like, I drive a fancy car. I'm wearing a $20,000 pair of shoes. You're an idiot. You're a fucking idiot. You know what I could have did with that 20 grand, you fucking loser. Like, you don't sound cool. You don't sound smart, but because, you think, that everybody sees you in a way where now you're the cool guy. Bro, if you're over 25 years old and you're still worried about looking cool, unfollow, block, delete, get rid of me because you're a
But
loser.
Eric, how many of those guys and women are out there that are over 25 that actually care about that stuff?
And
There's so many.
I'm gonna give you a typical Eric response. Fuck them. Okay, fuck them all. You know.
100%. You reminded me of a saying when you said that, when you talk about a $10,000 outfit. And one of the companies I used to own was custom men's suits and dress shirts. And I still have a closet. I was looking at the dress shirts actually this morning, and I have over 100 dress shirts that I don't wear anymore. And they're beautiful. I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to menswear, and that's why I started a company doing that.
Hmm.
But let me tell you something, the old expression of the suit doesn't make the man makes the suit is
Yep.
true. You could
100%.
have somebody who's a piece of shit, who lacks total confidence, who's just nothing, and he walks in wearing wearing the most expensive suit ever. And he goes in there and he goes and gets himself a $6,000 Tom Ford. He's wearing a nice $350 Eaton shirt. He's got some sweet shoes, whatever brand's your flavor. He walks into a room and people would be like, okay. But then somebody who knows who they are, who knows what's up, he can walk in a camo hat and a white t-shirt like Eric's wearing right now and be like, this motherfucker makes moves. Because
Yep.
they just know, like, you walk in, you have an energy about you, you have a
Yeah, man.
presence about you that people know what's up. Like,
Hmm.
there are people, there are people in the world, believe it or not, and that walk into a room of 1,000 people, and people know that person's in the room without seeing them because they literally can feel it because they're that big of a presence of a person.
Yep.
And like that's the difference between those people. They don't give a shit what people think about them. They don't care
Yeah,
what they
man.
drive. They don't care where they live. They don't care. It's about what works for them, right? And
Hmm.
so it's amazing how many people give a shit what people think about them.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off that, and I don't really like to use myself as a reference very much, because people take that as like a,
Yeah, yeah, like
he's
it's
being conceited or
braggadocious.
whatever. But I can say this with confidence: every one of those rallies that we went into early on, when it wasn't cool to be this freedom fighter, right? Every one of those that I went to, I would be standing in the, in a group of all of us who kind of had a platform, and we'd all be like shooting the shit, kind of getting to know each other, and people would be coming up for pictures. And I noticed, I'm like, wow, man, all these people are taking a lot of pictures. And then they would come to me and they might take a picture, but they'd have a conversation. To me, that's a huge differentiator
Yeah,
in the substance of an individual. When you go to one for the, oh hey, this'll, make my Instagram look good, and then you come to the other one for a genuine conversation, for advice.
yeah,
To me, that speaks volumes about anybody, right? I mean, fuck your picture, man. Like what you were saying earlier, I think makes a lot of sense, and I'm going to use this as an example. These Instagram hoes, right? And that's what I'm going to call them. That's what I'm going to call them, because it
oh, here
it
we go.
genuinely fits, right? The ones that are like looking straight into the camera. They got their bar, and they got their super tight pants with the little like ribbons on the ass crack to make them look perfect. And then they do their squats, and their page looks great. And what happens? What happens when they reach a place where they either get an injury or their looks go away? This ties in perfectly to what we were talking about, right? About the suit doesn't make the man makes the suit. Yeah, well, she's got all of this this giant platform. Oh, she got the numbers, she's got the sponsors, she's got the body. But should that go away, what do these people have? What
Yep,
are they? Like, take that super expensive suit off of that insecure little fucking beta male, right? And watch what happens. It's great that you got 50 grand on your body, but if you were to take that off and strip down to your boxers, bro, you're just a man. You're just a man. The wolf that's climbing the hill doesn't give a fuck what the wolf at the top of the hill looks like, man. They don't care. They just know they got to get to the top of the hill. So what you're saying about that presence is the wolf at the top of the hill is he's chilling. Everybody knows who he is. But when he's looking down at that hill and sees this one wolf that will not stop, that is constantly coming up that hill, guess who's not sleeping at night? Right? The one on top of
yeah,
the hill who's not as hungry. He's looking down terrified of what happens when that one gets at the top of the hill. And people forget that saying so much, man. But you need to understand that I don't care if you feel like you're at the top of your game, find a new hill, man. Find a
hmm
new hill at all times. Never stop climbing the hill. Always stay hungry. I'd love to have like one of them Dos Equis guys where it's like, stay hungry, my friends, right? Like, it just, there needs to be some sort of reminder for people to stop with your image and with the bullshit of who you'd like to be in your head, and truly look in the mirror and find out who you are. Right? We lose this a lot. We really fucking do.
You made a good point about these like whatever you're gonna call them, the Instagram girls.
Pose.
But I think that like I talk about that a lot with business stuff too. Like people, and I mentioned that one of my last podcast episodes of a guy who is a successful chiropractor because he's the guy though. No one wants to see anyone else. It's the same concept. If you build a business through, whether it be physical labor or something. That's why it's so important to go from a small business owner to a big business owner. Because if you hurt yourself, let's say you're the best home builder, like you build your framer, whatever. I don't care what you are. You're a drywaller and you're really good at it and you're the best, or a tiler, and everybody in the city wants you, but you mess up your back and you can't tile anymore. Now what? Where are the bills coming in? Now you know what, you're getting some job, sitting on a chair, working on a computer, trying to pay the bills, making a third the money. That's why I think it's so important that if you're going to go and you're going to build a business to get independence, you need to grow a big business. You need to actually not make sure, or you need to make sure you're not the person. Your physical time, your presence, your physical body is not the tool that makes the money, because that tool can be taken away in a split second. Car accident, slip on the ice, anything like that, right? I mean, even your mind, the same thing. You could go like, you could have an issue where you have brain damage, something like that. Like, but if you build a business with systems in place and something were to happen to you, and I know a story of a guy who I know built a successful business, who got shot in the head, who like today he's fine, but for like, it was like 6 years, his rehab, he was useless for 6 years. And his business, a year after he got shot in the head, a year or two after, was producing twice the amount of money for his family than it did when he got shot in the head, because he created a business that was a system that he was not the person. And that's the same concept as there, is that we all start somewhere. We got to start where we're the person. I'm not knocking you for starting there, but you have to learn to expand. Because if we're talking about creating freedom, if we're talking about taking control of your life, we're talking about getting away from the system, make sure you're not the guy or you're not the woman as well, not for long term at least. So I just like that your thought touched on that, because I think that's very important for people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's actually a fucking really sound piece of advice. Because even right now, like, here's one of those areas I slip in. Like, sure, I'm a business owner, and sure, me and my business partner have created something that is very, very, very shortly going to finally become something huge.
Right.
Because this COVID thing was like the best thing for it, right? And obviously, I can't speak too much about it because people are fucking crazy.
That's
Um,
right. I don't talk
but
about my business.
that's about as far as I go. But
Yeah.
to not be the guy is a great piece of advice. I mean, it's just that. What the fuck if something happens, man? Like right now, I'll tell you straight up, if something happened to me, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
I'm fucked. Right? It's like I'm smart enough to know that there are plenty of other ways, and sure, I always have fail safe options. Like I'll never ever completely fall, but I definitely need to start getting into a place where, I'm not the guy. And I think a lot of the time, I rely on my hustle for that. Like this weekend, I could have just, had a fucking nice chill weekend with the kids, but I have side jobs. You know what I mean? Like there's shit to do, there's money to make, right? There's
Yeah.
there, there's places to be, and like,
I hope you're not sending me an invoice for doing this fucking podcast after that.
oh, 100%. Oh, you didn't get the email pre this? Yeah, it's pricey. Um, no, man, but I think you touched on something as well towards the end there that has everything to do with how we met, how we got our platforms, how this turned into what it is, and that's this term freedom, man. Like everybody thinks that this term freedom is just something that you scream at a rally, or that sounds cool, or you post on a shirt, and or is like a way to connect. But like, what are you actually doing in your lives to ensure that that word holds more value and actually plays a role? Like a main role. Like, is freedom a core value of yours enough to become free? I ask people all the time what they do. What have you done though? Like, if the grocery store went down today, are you good? Are you good?
We know the answer of most people is absolutely not.
Right. Right. And it turned into this thing, like with the whole toilet paper thing, right? Like we thought that was hilarious. Like me and my wife thought it was fucking hilarious. I'm like, you guys ever been out hunting? Man, fuck teepee, bro. Like, what are you talking about? Teepee? I mean, it's nice, but at
It's
home,
nice.
right? At home, though, like you really need, bro. Shit and shower. Like people were struggling, and I was like, wow,
Eric's in there waffle stomping while you guys are worried about toilet paper.
bro. And this goes back to, you remember that toilet paper trick? You
Yeah, yeah,
remember?
yeah, yeah. I remember.
Oh man, one square D good. But at the end of the day, man, it was just hilarious to me to see how something as simple as wiping your ass threw you into a tailspin. And I would have, if we were to wake up our great great grandparents in their graves and say, "Hey man, toilet paper's gone," people freaking out. You know what I mean? They would be fucking like, just nuke the bitch, like nuke the whole place. Gone, needs to go. Like, toilet paper is your concern? Like, it's a luxury, man. And people, dude, like that's what really struck a chord with me and was like, okay, I think it's time to start teaching people what it means to have your little egg, and to like, have a way to kind of remove yourself should something like that happen, man. Like, what skills do you have? What can you how many people don't know how to filter water? Like,
99.5% of people.
I'm telling you, man. And then it's like all of these people, what's crazy is I see these weekend warriors at these rallies, and one of these days I'm gonna go to one again just to hop on stage and ask to speak and be like, how many of you motherfuckers, after 3 years of this shit, right, still have no food saved, have no ability to, like, have you been practicing camping? Can you filter water? Can you, like, if your heat goes out, like, what do you do? Can you start a fire? Just little shit. And I'm gonna get that fucking fluoride stare from everybody in this freedom community's audience, just dumbfounded, no fucking idea what you're asking them. Because why is that important? We need our freedom. Well, that is freedom. Like, what don't you understand? That is where, when the system falls, I'm good, man.
Yep.
I'm good. So I don't know if you've had this yet, but I think this one's interesting. Is an individual messaged me talking about inflation and how you can't live, and like, oh, like, where you think you're gonna run? Like, bro, I live in Toronto. There's nowhere to go. I'm like, yeah, for you.
Yeah.
Where's your option? He's like, oh, you think you can run? I'm like, nope, I'll definitely survive. Bro, you live in Toronto. Let me tell you right now, that is a numero uno. You're getting fucked first.
Yeah.
There's your
That's
number one. But it was crazy that somebody would look at me who's prepared, and then to make themselves feel better would
that's
try
right.
to say your preparedness makes me offended that I can't prepare the same. So where are we then, Brandon? Like, where does that leave us then? Like, why would you why would you not want to know? Like, freedom doesn't start with like you being able to shop at their corporate fucking stores anymore, man. That's not freedom. You guys are literally, I call them convenience fighters now. You guys just want your conveniences to continue. You guys don't
Yeah.
even know what the fuck freedom is. Like, let's stop using that word, because you are truly fucking delusional, man.
It's funny that you bring that up, because on one of my episodes I talked about the agrarian delusion, delusional fantasy, and I honestly and I think you would agree with me on this. I would almost like to go to the point where there were no more conveniences, where we
Agreed.
literally had to, like, to me, I'm like, the idea of it actually excites me. Like, do I want that for my daughter and stuff? Like, no, like, do I want her to have an easier life? Yeah, but I mean, like, to me, the idea would excite me, because, and like, I don't want the chaos for the world. That's not what I want. But I mean, like, I enjoy the idea of having to, and will there be a lot of things I'll have to learn? Yeah, sure. Like, but it's like, to me, yeah, these people, they couldn't make it a weekend, let alone a week or a month. And I'll talk to people like, yeah, I got about 30 days worth of food. I'm like, well, really, you probably have about 10 days. You just think you'll eat, you think you eat less than you do. And that ain't going to get you shit. Like, I mean, it's like, to me, it's so funny how these people are. And you said getting on stage. There's a reason I've never spoke on a stage. I've been asked to before, and I've turned it down here locally. I said no, because I'm like, everyone would hate me. I'll just go up there and say, you guys are all the fucking problem. We are still here today because of you guys, not because of Jason Kenney, not because of Doug Ford, not
Yeah.
because of Justin Trudeau, because you motherfuckers. And nobody wants to hear me say that. So yeah, I agree, man. People need to get their shit together. I mean, we connected big time on that, being prepared. You can never be fully prepared, and that's why community is so important, right? That's why. So there are certain people with other skill sets, certain people with other tools. Like, you let's say you're an incredible carpenter. You make friends with a couple of, they're third generation farmers, and they raise cattle and all that. And okay, so you can do woodwork and all that kind of stuff. They can raise the meat. There's a beautiful now, like, and you connect with these people, and it's like, I just don't understand. People are like, oh, and they'll argue with me. The rallies are still important because of connection. Okay, and you connected these people, and then what? Like, no offense, but if the world went full blown cuckoo and it was end of the world style scenario, I don't want superficial connections. I don't want a list of phone numbers of people that
Yep.
just because I think they're funny. I want to be associating with people that can help each other, people with
Yep.
medical experience, people who know how to farm, people who know how to weld, people that know how to plumb, electricians. These are the things that you want to get around and do that. People that are good for protection, people like I don't understand the random networking. I don't get it.
No.
Network intentionally in all areas. Network intentionally for business, network intentionally for life, network intentionally for your sexual relationships and husband, wife, all that stuff. You should be networking intentionally constantly. None of this frivolous one night stand nonsense. All this, like, just what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah,
Like,
man.
again, if you're over 25 and you are not intentional in all areas of your life, I get it. If you're 18 years old and you're doing dumb shit, cool. I mean, if you're not, even better. Like, if you're mature enough at 19 to act the way that a 28-year-old should, good for you. But anyway, that's a whole subject I can ramble on about forever. So
Yeah, for sure, man. No, I agree, dude. I agree. Like, why is it that, for instance, I mean, if we're constantly fighting for a system that people would like to keep in play, well, then what exactly are you fighting for in that system to change then? Like, what would you like to change? Like, if everything were to say, if they came today and said, okay, we're locking up all these assholes, they fucked the world, let's start fresh. We're going to give you guys the choice of who you want up here, who you want over there, and this is how we're going to organize things. It's kind of like, okay, what changes would we make? And this is why I'm such a huge advocate of homeschool, for the reasons that you have the ability to teach your kids things that matter, man. Like,
yes,
since when have you looked at a school curriculum and seen survival or financial literacy or any sort of spirituality just to help you understand the self? You want to get rid of mental illness? You want to get rid of this, these mental issues that we're speaking of? Well, then why are kids not being taught about how to fucking deal with their problems by themselves? I'm sorry, man, but this whole support system idea can eat a bowl of dicks. It is not, when nobody is fucking cheering for you, man. Like, how many people can, for instance, work out with no music? There's a simple question for you. How many of you need to be so pumped up by an external source? Like, relying on you to be your own cheerleader. It's all the shit you do where there's nobody to, clap for you and tell you that you're doing great. Those are the things that's going to truly form your mind, body, and spirit to be, the person that you speak of being. Right? So if you'd like your kids to learn that, I'm telling you right now, the public school system isn't going to do that. That's up to you.
yeah,
That's one thing I really appreciate about you and your wife is that you guys are. This is why I continually have certain relationships, man. And there's very few. There's only like 4 or 5 of you guys that I still talk to.
yeah,
Because of this, it's like, who's really giving the people, the children, real resources in which to create the individuals that we keep speaking of? I hear all of this talk about what we need to be, where we need to be, these communities we need to create. And then when you ask people like what you said, okay, well, who do you know that does medical? Who do you know that can plant? Who do you know that can hunt? Who do you know that can fish? Who do you know that can, build? Who do you know that? And they're just like, oh, well, you know, like, it can't be that hard. Like, oh yeah, bitch, you ever fucking built anything, right? You know what I mean, though? Like, everyone has this idea, like it's going to be fucking great, right? And it's not easy. None of it's ever easy. It's very difficult. It requires a lot of knowledge, and it does, like you said, right? Like, oh, it takes a village to raise a kid. No, it takes a village to create a village. You know what I mean? You're going to need the assets. You're going to need the people. So I think that's what our focus needs to be. I think we need to continually push this shit home, man, and really start to hammer it home that, like, if you do not have basic skills, if you are not being the change that you would like to see, don't even fucking talk to me.
And in all fairness, that saying about it takes a village to raise a kid is true in a certain aspect if the village is on the same page, like collectively. Like if we were in so I'm not bashing the whole saying, but it's funny what you say, and I never realized until you just said it. And I've talked about me when I went to the Dominican Republic there for 5.5 months, and I watched exactly what you just said happen. Everyone's like, "Well, it can't be that hard to figure it out." So many people that went off to the Dominican Republic this winter, tons of Canadians, as we all know, a lot of them moved there. They said they were moving forever. A lot of them came back already. Some of them are still there, whatever. And some of them are happy. Some of them aren't. Some of them are mad at the people. It's all kinds of drama. And we were only going down there for the winter, right from the get go. We were very clear on that. And what we experienced was exactly what you just said. is everybody thought they would just like get along and it would be easy and it would be this fairy tale. And actually the opposite happened. They found out like, oh, we don't click with these people, or this isn't what we thought it was going to be, and this and that. So imagine this is a tropical island that where everything is great and good. And imagine the
Mm-hmm.
end of the world scenario where you can't just go to the grocery store and get the food you need, and you can't go stand out on a beach and just warm up and enjoy yourself and take in the ocean, and you're used to being back home in Canada in the winter, and so you can actually calm yourself down very easily because, well, look where I am, this is beautiful. Imagine the end of the world scenario where you have no running water, you have no electricity, it's winter time, and you're not getting along with these people. Imagine that shit. You want to know what happens there? People start killing each other.
Mm-hmm.
So get your shit together. Like, it's very simple. And I'm not saying this to scare people and everything else, or not trying to go down this deep, dark path, but I just think people need to get a grasp on reality of where we currently are at and where we could very well go. I mean, we could also balance out and normalize, and people could take a stand and actually return ourselves back to what they are. And if that does happen, I believe it will happen in the United States first, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe Canada will follow suit. But I'm not counting on them down there either, because there's a lot of weakness down there too, just like there is up here. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. And again, man, I think it's just safe to say that we need to just continue doing this, dude. Like, I don't really see another way out, and I don't want to just continue feeding this monster of popularity and telling people what's wrong with the world. There's a lot of shit wrong with the world, but if you surrounded yourself with people who actually have things going on for themselves, who are actually making moves, who constantly are trying to be a better version of themselves day after day after day after day, then you're going to instantly, instantly realize, holy fuck, like the moment I changed my circle, my life changed. Right? The moment I started hanging out with winners, the conversation was different. Because if you're hanging out with nine idiots, you better fucking believe you'll be the 10th.
So I guess in summation of this episode, it's instead of talking about the problems, let's start working on the solutions.
It is. Get your shit together, bitches.
I guess we'll leave it at that. I like that. Get your shit together, bitches. Anyway, Eric, I'm glad you came on and did this. I'm sure we'll do something like this again, unless there's something else you want to add on this. But I think we'll call that a wrap.
No, man, that's it. I just appreciate you having me on. It's been a while, man. It's been long overdue. So I'm 100% down to do this again whenever.
Yeah, and I might. I just thought my wife. I might find my way out your guys' way in August as well. So a few people I want to stop and see. You guys would be one of them. So we'll see second, third week of August, maybe somewhere in there. No guarantees yet. It's like 50-50. It's a discussion.
Yeah.
And so if we do, for sure, you'll be one of the first to know.
Oh, for sure, man. I got to get out there your way to go do some hunting. If they ever decide to finally give me my fucking gun license in the mail, we'll definitely get out there and do some hunting for sure.
Well, I'll tell you what, my business partner's wife took her course in September, October last year. She still doesn't have hers. So
Insane.
yeah. Okay, man. Always a pleasure. Chat with
All
you
right,
later.
brother.
See ya.
Absolutely.